Hello, welcome back to Blender CC Live Learning. In this episode, I'll be showing you a couple of things interesting in Blender. Basically, a relationship between curve, edge, maybe also bones, and how you can mix things together, sort of. Sometimes I also use a grease pencil, but for now, I'll be just using curve. The add-on I'll be using is Kami Manga Hair because, it does cool things like you can just simply draw curve on surface like this, and it's actually overlapping sometimes. So I really like that. And first of all, if you are using Kami and curve, and this is curve objects, but it's also doing the bevel, right? And you can adjust the bevel over here if you like. But anyway, the objects is still live, and you can always tweak it if you want. On top of that, you can also grab it to something like sphere chop, and then you can do something like randomize, right? You already know that. Let's do this very quick. So this is already pretty neat as it is. On top of that, however, sphere chop actually have another way to play with it. So we still have our Bezier curve from Kami, right? You draw it just like grease pencil. You can use curve in sphere chop. So you can grab the curve objects, and here, while still keeping the curve alive, we can actually output mesh object. If you bake it, or actually in this case, I'm gonna just miss viewer. Just do it like this. Supposedly, yeah. Now we can go back to the curve object, which is nice, and it's already pretty cool. And you can always turn it back into curve if you like, or you can do like the resample thing. I think we can try using the curve. Let's see, curve polyline or cubic spline. So we have this curve object that has been turned into Polygon Edge, but we are inside sphere chop. We can always resample it this way. I found this is really quite interesting. There you go. Once updated. So what I did was resampling the curve back into edges, but we want to have multiple curves, so I need to separate this part because I draw multiple strokes, right? So it should now generate a bunch of curve that's already resampled, and now it's becoming Polygon Edge that's clean, and I can actually merge it back into a single object. So this is really quite powerful way of working. So now if I look at it, I resample the curve using sphere chop. Okay, so what can we do with this? Let's save this very quickly. Curve resampling. On top of this, I also find interesting relationship with the Polygon Edge and bone. If you skin the Polygon Edge and you mark root of every Polygon Edge, you can simply create armature. Okay, so now we have a couple of interesting things. Oh, actually I need to turn off the snapping. So from starting with a curve like a Kami, you draw the curve, or grease pencil, You can turn it into Polygon Edge that's been resampled, and you can turn it into armature. Okay, what can we do with this? Let's say I delete everything, right? I start with Suzanne. I always want to find a way, the quickest way to rig Suzanne. You can select the polygon edge of Suzanne. That's actually one quick way, select polygon edge and then separate the edge, turn it into skin. But for now, I will be using Kami and start drawing. So it might be the weirdest way to rig, but I found this might be interesting. I'm gonna draw the ear as well. You can of course do this with grease pencil, and maybe grease pencil is a better way to display this. But I like the connection between curve and edge and armature, and maybe at some point we can just draw grease pencil and let it control armature, because curve can drive bone, something like that. So let's reload our Bezier curve. Okay, see, Spreadshot is separating the curve, resampling this cubic spline, evaluate it, and maybe we want just a couple of, resample it to 5 bones for each one of them. Okay, now we can simply select our skin modifier, add a skin data, mark root for every polygon edge, and then adjust the radius. We don't need to do that, and then create armature. Okay, that's like a long step, but it's interesting. So okay, the curve maybe not perfect because I draw it wrong, but I always can go back to edit mode and resnap this to Suzanne. But we already have bones that's kind of in place because we draw the curve. Yeah, see, you can tweak it still. So curve to polygon edge to armature bones. Now that we have this armature, we can simply parent Suzanne into the armature bone, and then with automatic weight, and we can start animating Suzanne. So with these animations, there's actually a couple of things. So you can kind of tweak and deform Suzanne. You might think, okay, the bone is kind of a single bone. Sometimes you actually want this to be able to control all the bones at once. Sometimes you want to separate them. So something to think about. You can go to edit mode actually, and then F3, and clear the parents and disconnect bone. Once you do that, each bone becoming separate, and you can animate the bone. Okay, so that's really interesting. For the eye, something like eyebrow, this is probably, yeah, kind of nice way to animate. So they are still like a single objects, but you can also still animate this eye, the ear part. You can scale it. So yeah, really interesting, right? You started with just drawing curve, and then you use some Spreadshot trick. Use the curve as input, separate loose, cubic spline, and resample, blah blah blah. And this thing output the edge. So ideally, Let's try keyframing this anyway. Lockward location, rotation at scale, and then just reset everything, and then keyframe again. Go back to object mode with animation. Okay, so yeah, that's an interesting method probably if you're character rigger. So I'm originally I'm like a CG character rigger using Maya, and yeah, but it's a long time ago. I think this kind of relationship between curve, polygon edge, bone armature is very interesting. So it makes animations rig very easy and fun to do in Blender. So yeah, give it, maybe if you watch this video and you're interested, maybe you can develop this idea a little bit more. So yeah, thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.